Hello, welcome. Thanks for joining me today. I'm going to be painting 3 watercolor pumpkins. This is a very simple, easy painting. Anybody can do this. All you need is a piece of watercolor paper and a couple of brushes. I'm using a small round brush. I'm also going to use one that's still around but a bit thinner. So to start with, I'm just doing the basic outline and shape of 3 pumpkins, and then I'm going to fill them in with the color. Now, I haven't used a pencil, I haven't drawn them on first, I've just used the brush because pumpkins come in all different shapes and sizes. It's not a very precise shape, and so I don't need to worry about making it with a pencil first. I can just go straight in with my brush and not worry about making a mistake because I can always cover it up with the brush if I want to make it a bit bigger. I am going to leave a few white highlights on my pumpkins. You can do this by lifting the color after you've put it on, but if you want quite a white highlight, it's just so much easier to not paint it to begin with and just leave the white space there. So I've sped up the video here a little bit, but as you can see, you can just fill in all 3 with the base color. I'm then going to take a slightly darker orange color and go in and do the segments of the orange. So I'm just doing curved lines all the way around the pumpkin. This gives it more of a 3D look. It's not so flat on the page, and obviously helps it look more like a pumpkin than just an orange blob. So once I have my segments of my pumpkins, I'm going to take another orange, just a little bit darker. This has more of a red color to it. And I'm going to go in and start putting more shade into the left side of my pumpkin. I have the highlight on the right, so obviously I want to put more dark color and more shade on the left. And this is where you just get to play and where you get to decide where you want to put the color. It's really up to you. You can put it wherever you want. I'm going to just add some little bits of red, some little bits of darker orange, and then I'm going to do some yellow to make it more interesting. So do your own thing here, make it your own, and we'll see what we come up with. Okay, so here I am actually going to lift some of the color. I'm just dipping my brush in water and then dabbing it on a paper towel and then painting with the water on the top of my pumpkins because I just want to lift a little bit of the color that I've put down so it looks a little bit lighter, like the light is hitting the top of the pumpkins as well as the side. And so it's an easy process. You just paint in essence with no paint. You just paint with water, making sure that you do use a paper towel in between because you don't want to put a pool of water on your painting, and that will help lift some color. So this is where I'm going to come in with some yellow and go over certain parts of the pumpkin again. Also, you'll see at the bottom of the pumpkin, I do change the shape slightly. I just make it a little bit more round, and I can do that with the yellow color. So I'm just looking around, seeing where I think it needs some yellow highlights and painting it in. This is going to look different for everybody and for how you want your painting to look. There's no right or wrong way really to do this. I don't think. I can't tell you exactly where to put the yellow. You just have to look at yours and decide where you want it. Now I need a little bit more definition. So I'm using a red, well, an orange red color. It's a lot darker as you can see, and going up the lines of the segments. I'm not going all the way to the top, and I'm not doing it with all of them. Again, it's one of those things where you just have to look at your own painting and decide where you want to put them. You want to keep those darker colors basically on the lines though, to just give it a little bit more definition. and then I'm going to blend those colors in a little bit. Here I basically do the same thing again, but with a shade that's even a little bit darker. I added a bit of brown into my red orange color and just made the shade just a little bit darker again. Next for the stalks. So I'm just painting on the stalk. Again, I'm not drawing it on first, I'm just painting. And you obviously want to make it thicker at the bottom, and it goes up, kind of curls over to a point. So I'm just using a light brown color to do this. And then I'm going to add a little bit more detail. For the next step, I added a little bit of green into the brown stalk. I'm not covering the whole thing up. I'm just doing a few lines on it, adding a bit more shade. Then I started to do some twirly curly vines. You often find these on pumpkins that have just been freshly picked. They have these little vines coming off of them that are very curly. So I just used my brush and went around and around and put some vines in. Next, I want to put something at the bottom. So far, my pumpkins are floating in nothingness, and so I need to give them something to sit on. I want this to be very light, as in not color, but not something that looks super solid. And so I'm just painting with water and going around the pumpkins at the bottom. And then I'm dropping in some blue. It's a sort of blue gray color. And then I'm going to also add some purple into that, just for a bit of added interest. So here's where you take a look at your picture. I'm going back in with some orange again and just redefining some of those lines, adding a touch of shadow in here and there, just playing around with it. Yours is going to look very different than mine, I'm sure, so play around with it. You might not need to add any more color at this point. I just wanted to, sometimes it's hard to know when to stop. And so just those finishing touches. I'm also going to add a little bit of shadow just at the bottom of the pumpkins, just to make them look more like they're sitting on something. Here I'm doing the same thing again, this time with a little bit more yellow. Here I'm going to add a little bit of sky in the background. I'm doing the same thing as I did with the bottom part, and I'm just starting by putting some water down, just painting with a little bit of water, being careful that I don't have puddles of it anyway. You don't want to use too much. And then once it's wet, I'm going to drop the water in. Sorry, I'm going to drop the color in. The reason I do this and I don't just paint with the color is I want this to be a very soft background. I don't want harsh blocks of color. And so by painting with the water first and then dropping the color onto the already wet paper, it helps the paint to move around in a way that helps it be a very soft look. It doesn't look super heavy. Underneath the pumpkins here, I'm adding some more purple because I do want it to look more solid underneath. Obviously, there would be more shadow there, and I just want it to look more grounded, that the pumpkins are actually sitting on the ground. Okay, the last step in this painting, for me, I'm going to do some outlining with a black pen. I just really like this style. A lot of my paintings that I do, I use watercolor and ink together. It gives it, it's more of a illustrative style, I guess. And I don't know, that's just me. I like doing that. I think it looks nice and I like it. You certainly don't have to do this. You can just leave it as the painting if you want. But I do like to add the pen into it. So I just have a waterproof black pen. It's a very fine pen. You don't want it too thick. And I'm just going over basically all the lines, just outlining everything and giving it a little bit more definition with that black pen. So I'm going to go ahead and do that over all three pumpkins. So that's it. Your work is finished. I really appreciate you sticking with me and watching this. I hope you enjoy your painting and had fun doing this. Thanks so much, everybody. I will see you in the next one.